welcome to Lunch Break Sports. Welcome back to Lunch Break Sports. This is episode 2. I'm here with co-host Reed Benos.
What's up, guys?
And first, we're going to talk about the Sunday night football game between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens. Now, this game was absolutely incredible. It was Rodgers' last chance to make something happen. The amount of pieces that had to be put into place to make that game happen was crazy, because the Steelers had to lose to the Browns and the Ravens had to have a huge upset. And the way the game ended with the way the game ended was the Steelers scored a touchdown, which should have put them up 3, but their kicker missed the extra point because of the wind. So they were only up 2. And the Ravens drive down the field to like the 25-yard line, 30-ish, and they kick a 44-yarder, and it's no good. And it goes wide again because of the wind. And the Steelers make the playoffs, Ravens don't. I mean, I kind of feel bad for the kicker a little bit.
Yeah,
He's
definitely.
inexperienced after the whole Justin Tucker drama. The game shouldn't be put into his hands like that. Me personally, I think the Ravens are very stupid for... You've 13 seconds left. You've Derrick Henry, who's been the hot hand recently. You've a timeout. Why wouldn't you run the ball and see if he can get way closer? Because he probably would have. There's no risk. I just don't see what they were thinking. What do you think, Reed?
Yeah, I mean, there's always chances of fumbles. And there's always chances of just plays that could just go wrong, and it's not really worth the risk.
You don't think it's worth the risk at all?
No, it's only it's a 44-yard field goal. It's pretty far, but most kickers in the NFL should be able to hit it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, though. In that wind, like, don't you want your rookie kicker to get closer before they kick? I just think, like, one running play with Derrick Henry up the middle, around the side, doesn't matter. You call timeout and you just kick a field goal. I mean, the odds that Derrick Henry loses yardage there is very small compared to the amount of yardage he could gain. Like, the week before, didn't he have 4 touchdowns?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that guy's a beast. He's incredible. He's been incredible for his whole career. I just don't see how you don't give him the ball there. Okay, so now we're going to shift into the next part, which is fantasy awards for the fantasy football season. So in our league, I got second place, but we're just gonna talk about who we think the key players were in that fantasy season to maybe lead you to your championship. So fantasy MVP, who do you think was the most valuable player in fantasy this year?
My fantasy MVP personally is going to be Christian McCaffrey,
And why do you think that?
because he's just such a good, like, consistent player, and he catches passes, he gets big rushes, and yeah,
He kind of does everything, like
yeah.
he only in PPR leagues he only had one game where he had not double digits and he got 9.8. So that's really impressive. Many 20, 30-point games. However, I am going to give my MVP to Trey McBride because he was just such an influential piece in like a bunch of teams. There was not Brock Bowers was good, but he wasn't nearly as good, as consistent, as dominant as Trey McBride. And he gave all of his fantasy managers a huge advantage during this
Yeah.
season. I mean, if you had one or two more good players, I mean, you're probably in the finals. Who is your fantasy least valuable player? Someone who was supposed to be amazing, but wasn't.
My least valuable player was definitely my least valuable player was definitely Brian Thomas Jr.
I know you had him in your fantasy league,
Yeah.
and you're still a little salty about that, so
Yeah.
explain why.
I traded for him. I traded a lot for him, and I thought he was going to be a really good piece to my team, and he just turned out to be horrible, only averaging like 11 fantasy points.
I'm going to give my LVP to Justin Jefferson, who had a crazy down year from what he was supposed to be. He was probably a top 5 pick in fantasy. And throughout like the middle of the season, he was probably averaging like 15, but he was just on such a cold streak. At the end of the season, he only averaged about 11. And, I mean, that's really not what you're looking for from your star player.
Yeah.
Next, fantasy draft steal. Okay, I'll go first. I had Drake May. He was at end of round 12 in our fantasy draft. He was a top 5 quarterback this year. He's in the MVP race. He's incredible. I mean, it's just such a great pick. I took Justin Fields as my quarterback, so I would have loved to have Drake May.
Yeah, I have Jackson Smith and Jigba.
hmm And he was what, round 3, 4 pick,
Yeah,
but
round 3.
could have been like round 1. So yeah, that's valid.
Definitely, yeah.
Who was your fantasy draft bust? Somebody who was expected to do something and did absolutely nothing, like zero. I'm gonna go with Alvin Kamara. He was just so bad this season. I mean, he's been like the most consistent guy for the past couple years. Everyone's like, "Oh, when's he gonna fall off? When's he gonna fall off?" And year after year, he keeps being a draft steal. This year was not his year. He was trouble with injuries, only averaging about 9 in PPR leagues, which is not what you want from your 4th round pick.
Yeah, I have Calvin Ridley as mine.
Yeah, he was really really bad. What, he averaged 6.8 in
Yeah,
PPR.
7 fantasy points. He was like a 5th, 6th round pick, and probably the worst pick of the draft in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I can't blame you. Okay, next, fantasy best waiver pickup. Now I think there's 2, maybe 3 candidates here. Reed, who do you have for your?
I have Matthew Stafford as mine.
Okay.
He was not really. He wasn't a waiver pickup in our league, but he was drafted the 128th overall pick.
He was a waiver pickup in a couple of my other leagues,
Yeah,
actually.
he was a waiver pickup in a lot of leagues, and he was finished as position rank 3, averaging like 24 fantasy points a game.
Yeah, that's really great. Who I had, I think you have to go between Rico Dowdle and Michael Wilson for your fantasy MVP, because the difference is Rico Dowdle had a hot streak right before like the playoffs, so he like propelled you into it, and Michael Wilson had a great run like in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I had Rico Dowdle. He kind of slowed down near the end. It didn't get me enough points to win my championship, but I'm still happy that I picked him up. He like won me so many games. But yeah, I think I'm gonna give it to Rico Dowdle. And finally, who should be taken at the 101, the number 1 overall pick next year? In my opinion, it's between maybe CMC, Bijan, or Puka. Bijan seems like the safest pick, but CMC has more upside. Like, he can get injured, but it's high risk, high reward. And I would say Puka is somewhere in the middle of that because he has some injury concerns, but not like Christian McCaffrey, and a little more upside than Bijan. So who do you have for yours?
I have Puka Nakua for mine because he's young, he's incredibly talented. He is a good quarterback throwing to him, and even when he missed a game this season, he still finished position rank 2 or 1 for the wide receivers.
All
And
right.
he's just so consistent.
For mine, I have Bijan, because for me, I am super afraid of my 1st round pick getting injured and then losing the whole season. Bijan, I mean, he's gone through so many gruesome looking injuries and turned out completely fine. I mean, have you seen that clip of him in college getting like folded in half on a tackle?
Yeah,
And
I've
he's
seen
completely
that.
fine. It's crazy. His Achilles tendon is super flexible. He is very injury resistant, and so that's who I'm gonna go with. All
Yeah,
right.
and the thing about injuries, I actually had Malik Neighbors as my first rounder, and that did not end up well for me.
So you had your best 2 players were Malik Neighbors and Ryan Thomas Jr. And that, like, you won our
Yeah.
championship 3 years in a row, but you couldn't really come back from that.
Yeah, I had really bad trades in the beginning of the season.
All right, Reed, thank you so much for coming on the pod, and
Yep.
let's go to our next segment.
All right.
Round 1 playoff predictions.
All right, here with my next segment, with Paul Raskin,
Yep.
and we are going to be predicting each of the 1st round of the playoffs.
Should I start
Each
with
game.
the NFC?
Oh, okay, let's go NFC 2 versus 7. What's that matchup?
2 versus 7, so that's Bears Packers.
Mhm.
I don't think the Bears were looking really strong, especially their last game of the season. They played the Lions. They actually lost. And the Eagles could have gotten the 2nd seed, but they also lost against the Commanders because they didn't put their starters. But I think the Bears are barely gonna win. They're not looking great. The Packers haven't looked great all season though, so I think the Bears are barely gonna win. Um, closer.
So I think the Packers are gonna win this one, even though they've been on a super cold streak recently. I still think they have more talent, more experience, just a better team than the Bears. I mean, we haven't seen the Bears in this good of a position since a very long time.
That's right. How long has it been?
It's
10 years, 15?
it's something like that. But yeah, I mean, I just trust the Packers more.
Yeah, maybe. It'll be close, definitely. All right, next game. Eagles 49ers.
That's the 3 and the 6.
That's 3-6.
Okay.
The Eagles actually just lost against the Commanders because they didn't put really
Mhm.
any of their starters. But I don't know. The 49ers have looked pretty strong over the season with Brock Purdy. And I still think the Eagles are going to slightly win. But if the Eagles don't get into a rhythm, especially in the second half, then they're going to be in some trouble.
I have to disagree with you again, actually. I'm going to go with the 49ers because I just think this is probably the most underrated team I have ever seen. They had a chance to get the 1 seed with them not really being on anyone's radar, to be honest. And, I mean, they're a good team, and I think they're a lot better than people think. I think they could go all the way to the Super Bowl, as crazy
No
as that may
way.
sound. I truly believe this 49ers team has a chance to make the Super Bowl.
If not losing this round, they're definitely losing against the Seahawks.
I think if they win this round, I genuinely think they have a chance.
All right.
Okay, now let's do 4 seed versus 5 seed. What that's Panthers versus
Panthers,
the Rams.
Rams.
Now, I mean, I want to root for the as a Jets fan. I want to see a team that's been bottom feeding for a while win the game, and they did win previously. I just don't see a world in which the Panthers actually win both of the games. So I think I have to go with the Rams.
I have to agree. I mean, the Panthers, it feels like they've been getting lucky, rooting for the underdog. They haven't won in a while, but I think we have to turn to reality here, and it's definitely the Rams.
All right, now let's go with the AFC. So the 2 versus 7 in AFC is, well, the Seahawks have the bye in the NFC, and the Broncos have the bye in the AFC. 2 versus 7 is going to be Patriots versus Chargers.
Wow.
So I'm going to go first on this one. I truly believe the Patriots are not as good as their record or anyone thinks. I'm so serious. They haven't played against anyone good. They
I don't
share
like that.
the interdivision
with that.
teams share very similar schedules to each other. The Jets have had like a very easy schedule, and so have the Patriots. They've played really. What, they beat one winning team this whole season? Isn't
That's
that like
also just because their schedule just
yeah,
has
but
been
I'm
great.
saying they're not proven. However, is the game? I think they're not going to go all the way. It's the game that they lose against the Chargers.
No.
I have a hard time saying that they're going to lose to the Chargers, but
They're definitely winning.
I'm rooting.
I mean,
I'm rooting hard for the Chargers, but I think the Patriots are just going to come out with this one. Next, we have the Jaguars versus the Bills. Now, I think this is probably
Oh,
the
yeah,
most
100%.
interesting game I think there is on this schedule. It's two teams that have had, like, the Jaguars, you can say that, I don't know, they don't really seem like a legit contender. They were, didn't they, a couple years ago, maybe 2 years
2 years
ago,
ago.
they were like
okay.
8-2. No, 2 years ago, they were 8-2. And then they went on this crazy cold streak and went 9-8 and missed the playoffs. Like, I don't know if this organization is ready for that. I know Liam Cohen's been great, but on the other hand, the Bills aren't anything special either. Like, they
Eagles.
had major flaws. They lost to a
They
bunch
shouldn't
of
have beaten
teams that
them.
they definitely should have beaten. I mean, I am gonna go
I
with
would
the
go-
Bills here, but
I'm
I
going
would not be
Jaguars.
surprised if you
I
went
think the Bills
Jaguars.
have been very inconsistent. They've had a little bit of problems on offense, a little bit of problems on defense. It's on and off. Josh Allen's just not been really as good as he was last season this year. I mean, he's still a little bit in the MVP race, maybe not, but I still think that the Jaguars are definitely coming on top.
4 seed versus the 5 seed Steelers versus Texans. All right, now the 4 seed versus the 5 seed Steelers versus Texans.
Yeah, 100%,
There's no
yeah.
debate here, in my
Okay.
opinion. It's going to be the Texans. I mean, this might be the best defense we've seen in
That's right.
decades. They're so dominant on the defensive side, and their offense is good enough to propel them. They're the 5 seed. The
Yeah, and
Jaguars have a
also
better
I
record
think
than
the
them
Steelers
by,
have
what,
been
1
very,
game?
very rocky.
just-
They lost to the Browns 2 weeks ago. Oh yeah,
they were
100%.
so
They're
so lucky
completely
to win
losing
the
that game.
against the Ravens.
Tyler Loop did.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
No problem.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Paulie, for being on this segment. And we're going to go into our next one.
Time for your favorite segment, which is worse?
All right, I'm here for everyone's favorite segment, which is worse. I'm here with Jude Ornstein this time.
Hello?
And so this time we're going to be talking about the two worst plays that happened for the remainder of the season. So the first one is Jalen Hurts is playing against the Chargers. He throws an interception to a defensive tackle. That's already bad. But then the Eagles are able to force a fumble out of the defensive tackle, and Jalen Hurts picks up the ball, recovering his interception. But then after that, Jalen Hurts fumbles the ball again. He turns the ball over twice in the same play. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that before. What do you think about that, Jude?
Honestly, it's just a poor performance to see out of Jalen Hurts. He's a decent quarterback. Someone call him a system one, though. Whatever. Besides the point. In the clip, you can see Jalen Hurts picks up the ball after the defensive tackle fumbles it. It appears he didn't fully have enough time to secure it because right as he picks it up, another Chargers defensive player knocked it out. It was a bad play.
Yeah, it was a really bad play. And the second one, the Seahawks and the 49ers were playing on Sunday Night Football
Yep.
to determine who would win the division. And the Seahawks are up 10, but the 49ers have the ball in the red zone, right next to the goal line. Brock Purdy throws the ball to Christian McCaffrey. He bobbles the ball and essentially hands the ball to the defense, sealing the game and losing them the number 1 overall seed. Now tell me what you think about that.
Yeah, as a 49ers fan, that one really, really hurts. It was fully unforced, easy catch, honestly, routine catch. No real reason you should be just giving that to the defender there, just unfortunate to see.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of threw the season away. And while it wasn't like that touchdown was going to be the game winner, it certainly would have been.
Yep.
They certainly would have had a chance. Now,
Fighting shot.
here's the question. Which of those two plays do you think was worse?
It hurts me to say it. I'm gonna have to say the Christian McCaffrey play.
Wow, okay.
I think Jalen Hurts. It obviously the clip makes it look like his fault, but I truly think he just didn't have enough time to get full possession over that ball there, and the defensive tackle or not the defensive tackle, just a different lineman on the Chargers took advantage of that and knocked it out before he could fully get possession and keep it. And so I don't think I think in those circumstances that's just unfortunate, but I think Christian McCaffrey fully unforced pick there should have been routine for the touchdown, and no reason for that.
I'm going to actually have to disagree with you here, Jude. I think that turning the ball over twice in the same play is not only bad, but it's also just bizarre and something really I don't think many people have ever seen. It's just such a crazy turn of events. So, Jude thinks that the Christian McCaffrey play is worse, and I think that the Jalen Hurts play was worse. You tell us what you think in the comments, and we can decide which is the worst play. But now here's the question. Do you think the Christian McCaffrey play was worse than the Max Brosmer play from last episode?
I'm gonna have to say, I think that the Christian McCaffrey play must have been a little worse there. It was completely unforced, and it probably could have won the 49ers a division. And I think that just really hits close to me. That play right there lost us the 1 seed, and if we had had the 1 seed, we would have been home for the rest of the season. It's higher stakes, and that Max Brosner play, the stakes were honestly not as high. And yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Jalen Hurts play being worse than Max Brosmer's because, turning the ball over, again, it's just something so bizarre that, sure, throwing the ball underhand to the defender is terrible, but I feel like we've seen something like that before. So now for the really big question. Is that worse than the butt fumble?
Dude, the butt fumbles, that's a classic.
Yeah.
That's a classic.
Nothing, I don't think anything's ever going to be worse than the butt fumble. So just tell us what you think the worst play of the season was. And yeah, thank you, Jude.
It's time for a game show.
I am here for my last segment with Seth Perlstein.
Hello, Joey.
and we're going to be doing a little bit of a game show. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 4 players, and you have 30 seconds to correctly guess what they have in common. All right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So for the first level, we have Brock Purdy, Kendrick Bourne, Christian McCaffrey, and George Kittle.
Oh, they all play on the 49ers.
Correct. Okay, here we go. Medium, Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts, Jamison Williams, and Will Reichard.
Oh, they all went at Bama?
They did all go to Alabama. Okay. Hard. Zach Wilson, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Ramsey, Darren Waller.
Oh, boy.
You have 30 seconds, or you could use your lifeline.
Who was the first one?
You have Zach Wilson, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Ramsey, and Darren Waller. 15 seconds.
They all go to schools in the Big 12? No, it's not it?
10, 9, 8, 7,
This shouldn't be.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
They all. Wait, Mahomes. Wait,
Do you want to use your lifeline?
sure.
Okay. You have 1 minute to get somebody from outside this room to come in here and correctly get it. Your time starts now.
I don't.
Go.
Avi.
Okay, he's going. He's going over Avi. Okay. You have to name what these 4 players have in common. Zach Wilson, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Ramsey, Darren Waller.
No, it's in draft.
All playing NFL.
No.
No, you have to help Seth. He's got
No,
like 15 seconds
it's
left.
not.
He asked for your help. Come on.
not-
14,
It's not where
13,
they played. It's not.
12,
Not draft class.
11,
It's not.
10, 9, 8,
Is there
7,
8? No,
6,
no, not. They're so different.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I'm sorry.
Time is up. Nothing? You got nothing? Nothing? The answer was players who played with Tyreek Hill. All right, well, thank you, Seth. And that's it for our episode. All right. See you guys next episode.